All right, hello Guild Wars 2 gamers. Today we've got another episode of I Tried, and today we're visiting the blue class. We have got the Luminary, specifically the healing build for Luminary, because I do like my supports, and this is the last heal build that was added in Visions of Eternity that I had not yet visited, so here we are. And ArenaNet has done something with this class that they have not done in the last, 10 or 20 years, or however long Guild Wars 2 has been out, and that is, god dang it, they made me enjoy Guardian. Clip it. I don't know if I'm going to say this ever again. This was actually fun. Let's get into it. All right. So first off, at the time of recording this, I went on to the usual sites like MetaBattle and Guildgen and Snowcrows, and most of them didn't have heal Luminary builds except Snowcrows. So because I am not super fluent with Guardian, I copied a build from Snowcrows and then made some tweaks to it until I was happy with it. We are running full Harriers on the armor with Runes of Water, Harrier on the weapons with concentration and transference. We've got a spear and a staff. Over here, we've got Harriers on the top row. We've got givers on the bottom row of the jewelry section, and the reason for that is, for those that don't know, Guardian is tied for the lowest hit points in the game. Now they're in heavy armor, and they got lots of defensive buttons, lots of buttons that block the next hit, so they feel tanky sometimes, so especially if you're fighting them in PvP and they know what they're doing, but they do have the lowest base hit points or tied for it in the game, so they're actually squishy if something hits them and they don't expect it. So a little bit of tankiness here to help us stay in the fight. We're using Relic of Caracosa that heals nearby allies when we do a blast finisher. Okay, so here's the build, and I sometimes just show the build and then I just go on, but I'm actually gonna talk about a few things here because there are some changes that you can make, and even I, with my, one day of experience with this, could point out to you. So first off, gain vigor at the end of a dodge roll. That's self only, not the whole party. Create a symbol whenever you use a healing skill. So basically, if I use my healing skill here, it will then draw a pretty picture on the ground, and that pretty picture will do healing and protection in the area. The healing is actually coming from the Grandmaster trait, so let's go over here. All symbols will do pulsing healing to allies and last longer. So this basically is, you're doing quite a few symbols with various things in your kit, and this makes them pulse out more healing. So like, for example, there's symbol of swiftness on the staff, and that now also heals, so that's nice. All right, and then empowering might, grant might to nearby allies when you get a crit. So whenever you crit, you're giving the whole party a little bit of might, so that helps. Virtue skill 2, now also passive, also regenerates endurance. So your F2, now you're going to keep your F2 on cooldown. However, there's another trait that you can take that will have it still help regardless of that. So it's not vigor, but it's baby vigor, and it is basically always running on teammates, and I'll come back to that. Virtues apply boons to allies when activated. Deal increased strike damage for each boon on you. We are going to be hitting the F1 and F2 every time they light up. It's whack-a-mole with those two. So that is helping with some boon uptime with might and regeneration. The last one we're kind of keeping for when we need it. Master of Consecrations. Consecrations gain increased duration. This is especially useful for like if you're in a fight where you need Sanctuary. So this will make it so that Sanctuary lasts 7 seconds instead of 5. Sanctuary is both a heal within it is a projectile block in it, and it knocks enemies out of it, or tries to. If you've never played a Guardian, if you put this on a boss that is immune to getting CC'd, it will still try every second. So it'll do knockback, 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 knockback. So you just drop it right on top of them, and it hits them with 7 knockbacks. So the amount of CC you get for pressing one button is incredibly high with Sanctuary. However, it takes a few moments for it to run its full course, but very, very powerful in the moments where you need it. And again, it heals party members in it, and it also blocks projectiles. Virtue of Resolution, gain resolution when you activate a virtue. Resolution you grant has increased duration, so you will have a lot of resolution uptime on yourself. It's not really super necessary, but it helps. And then we get to this section here. So you could run this. This is some stuff related to Hammer. We're not using Hammer. And also heal whenever you disable, immobilize, or chill a foe. We do have some disables in our rotation. For example, Radiant Forge Hammer 2 is a disable because it also will supply Might and Fury to the party. So we are doing that periodically, and it does like a 900 heal on the party when you do. And Indomitable Courage, whenever you use your F3, you stun break and stability the team. So you hit F3, and then boom, lots of boons, including Aegis, and also stability, and it stun breaks the team. Very powerful. Other option, which, unless you really need this, I like this option more. This one is when you activate Virtue Skill 2, you also cure Condies on the team. You are hitting F2 a lot, so this is some regular condition cleanse going out to your party members. And then then this one is nearby allies gain the passive effect of Virtue Skill 2. Now, for you, if you activate Virtue Skill 2, you lose the passive buff from it until it comes back off cooldown. Notice, for example, there's Radiant Justice. There's Radiant Justice. I use it. It's gone now. However, allies will still get the effect of it even while this is on cooldown. So this means they're getting the constant endurance regeneration buff that we got up here. And they're also getting the pulsing healing from it every 3 seconds. So it's kind of like if you're playing a water Ellie and you've got Soothing Mist on the party healing them. You'll have your regeneration healing them per second. You'll also have your virtue healing them per second. And then also, if you are running Signet of Courage, this will be healing them every 3 seconds. And this is optional. And then all your other stuff that you're actually doing. So basically, this is more passive healing and some condition cleanse on the party. This is some healing whenever you CC, not as much as Battle Presence, I don't believe. And then another stability option for if you need more stability. I was running this today. All right, Luminary. So Luminary, refresh the duration of Luminary's Blessing and trigger its healing when you exit Radiant Forge. So really quickly here, what is Luminary's Blessing? Luminary's Blessing reduces incoming strike damage by 10%, heal when this expires. And it says, grant Luminary's Blessing to allies when you equip a radiant weapon. This is actually kind of crazy. This class has a buff it gives to teammates that other classes do not have. I really like this. I like when a class has something small and unique that sets it apart from everybody else. And in this case, 10% reduced damage hitting the party. Now, that's multiplicative. So first, they get hit, and then if they have protection, they take 33% less damage. Then that remaining number is then reduced by 10% of whatever it is. And the reason for that is a long time ago, they used to just add up all the damage reductions. Then there was a period of time where Revenants were able to get 100% damage reduction and they were immortal. And they don't want that to happen again. So it's multiplicative now. The point is though, this is really cool. This is your party takes less damage. Other healers don't have this. This is a Luminary special. Now, it is a very tight range. You need to be bunched up for this, but still, that's pretty freaking cool. And whenever you refresh it, or whenever it wears off, they get a 1k heal, which is nice. So that is awesome. Grant boons to nearby allies when you equip a radiant weapon. There's your alacrity. So if I go into the forge and I boom, there's a hammer, and then there's a staff, then there's my sword. We just did alacrity 3 times. So it's pretty easy to keep alacrity up. And over here, Illuminating Inspiration, reduce the recharge of virtue skills when you equip a radiant weapon. So let's show that again. I'm just gonna bing bing, there's F1, F2. I go into the forge and then hammer and staff, and look, hammer's almost completely back up. There, it's up. So basically you're using your F1 and F2 every time they light up. Every time Forge lights up, we're doing some stuff in Forge, and that makes F1 and F2 come off cooldown very, very fast. Okay, so that's all that stuff. Up here, we are running Resolute Stance, which is just a really big heal and Condi Cleanse on you and the people near you. Hold the line, you need to keep boons up. So this, you're just hitting it every time it lights up to help keep up protection and regen on the party, according to Snowcrows, and I'm trusting them with that. These 3 are flex slots. Now, I have said in many videos in the past, Guardian has one of the strongest toolboxes in the game. This is what I consider its toolbox. Like, if I'm on my Druid, this list of utility skills, not many of them help with druiding. On the Guardian though, it's like, okay, well, there's a lot of damage on this fight, I'll bring Effulgent Stance for more barrier. Or there's a lot of projectiles on this fight, I'll bring Shield of the Avenger for more projectile block. Or I need to bounce these projectile back to hit the boss like Matthias, so I'll bring Wall of Reflection so he hits himself. Or I need huge CC, so I'm gonna bring Sanctuary. Or Billy's here today and he freaking sucks, so I'm gonna bring Signet of Mercy to revive him. Or I need more CC, so I'm gonna bring this other thing. We need Aegis, I'm gonna bring Advance, has 2 charges of Aegis on it. We need more stability. I'm gonna bring Stand Your Ground, which has stability for the team. I need even more stability, so I'm gonna bring Stand Your Ground in 1 slot, and I'm gonna bring Valorous Stance for the other slot. Like, holy freaking crap. There is a lot down here that is really good. And the Guardian and the Mesmer toolbox down here are insane. There's a lot of stuff to choose from. So this slot, whatever you want. This slot, whatever you want. This slot, whatever you want. Some options. If you're in a group, I personally don't really like Feel My Wrath because you're gonna have quickness from someone else. You've already got Fury covered, so it's just super speed. That is useful sometimes. Like if you really gotta move the group from point A to point B really fast. However, I was learning a class I didn't know. Signet is pretty passive. It just every 3 seconds, it pulses a heal out to the group. And then if you need to, you could press the button for a fat heal and also stability for the party. And it pulses the stability. So like if you hit this, if you look, see, stability, 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 stability. It basically does 6 applications of stability very rapidly over and over and over. So even if one gets chewed up, there's more that's coming down the pipeline over the next couple seconds. So it's pretty nice. Let me redo a food buff here. So again, these, whatever you want. When we went to Dagda, I brought Sanctuary to be able to just stop her projectiles and just throw a bubble on her. Whenever she started throwing bullets all over the place, whenever we needed stability, I would bring Stand Your Ground. Whenever I needed Aegis, we could bring Advance. I actually never brought Advance today because the F3 gave Aegis, and I never really needed more than that. Signet of Mercy was an option. When we did Canaan Overlook, I brought Shield of the Avenger to be able to block the sniper's bullets more often. Shield of the Avenger has 3 charges. What the hell? Like, dude, you could draw pictures of this thing. I had no idea this thing had 3 charges. I did not know. So that's an option as well. And yeah, there's a lot here. There's a lot. Where's Stand Your Ground? There it is. Sorry, so many of these pictures look like the just screaming guy from Clash of Clans. They all look the same to me. Okay, so let's talk about this guy. How do you play this? So first off, I am going to turn on an extreme damage field to show that I have a basic understanding of this class, and then we'll go from there. So running in here. And then and then we pole dance. Oh, that's an Asura special. There we go. And do this, and I'm actually caught up on everything here. Okay, back into the forge. All right, and if you look at the boons, lots of lovely boons. Best boons I've ever met. And okay, so you get the idea. I'm staying alive. We got all these lovely boons. I'm healing through an extreme damage field. It is capable of that. And during that test, I did not use my heal skill, which is Giga Healing. I did not use Signet of Courage, which is Giga Healing. And I did not use a Fulgent Stance, which is a massive barrier on the team. So how do you play this? So I'm gonna turn off the damage field so that I can focus on talking. All right, so well, you start in Spear. Okay, you start in Spear, and when you're in Spear, all your skills do bonuses if you're illuminated. Your 5 makes you so illuminated. So your opener is 5 and then 3. That does some boons, okay? Hit F1 and F2 every time they light up. Whenever Forge is up, enter the Forge and hit 2, 3, 3, 4. Now there are many ways to do it. That's how I choose to do it. Oh, F1 just lit up, we'll hit that again. Leave Forge, okay? Then use the 3 again. And swap. When you're in Staff, you want to use the 3 and the 4 every time they're up. So if there's the 3, the 4 is a channel, don't interrupt the channel, let it play out, okay? The 2 is a heal, use it as you need. The 5 is a CC, use it as you need, okay? Once again, F1 and 2 whenever they light up. Forge is up again, 2, 3, 3, 4. Leave Forge, okay? And then we're hitting hold the line every time it lights up. That's it. Okay, there's a few things going on there. Again, hold the line every time it lights up. F1 and F2 whenever they light up. Go in the Forge. 2, 3, 3. Again, 4. Leave Forge. And then with Staff, you want to have 3 and 4 on cooldown. With the Spear, you want to 5 and then 3 every time possible. And use 3 again before you leave the Spear. That's all the boons, and that is a lot of healing around you. Now let's talk about, let's see. Tokizo says if you leave Forge with Staff used last, you get more healing. Okay. I'm going to trust Akizo with that. If that's the case, then you could do 2, 4, 3, 3. So a couple of things to note here. 1, your 4 in Forge moves you. This killed me once today. We were fighting Dagda, and I was doing my rotation, and Dagda went untargetable for a second, and started summoning a nasty damage field. And I had just pressed 4, she went untargetable, and I launched myself deeper into the damage field, and then I couldn't get out of it in time. And I was like, okay. And it reminded me of times when I'm in like Harvest Temple and I'm fighting the dragon and he goes untargetable right when you hit a movement skill and launch yourself off the cliff. It reminded me of that. So that was a shameful display, but know that Forge 4 is a movement skill if you don't have something right in your face. The 5 gives Aegis to the party and is a block. And if you double tap the 5, it's a shield bash and it's a massive CC. So I did not like burning the 5 for Alacrity because it wasn't necessary. And I really liked having the 5 available. So like if I was in Forge and the party was about to take a big hit, I could tap the 5 and Aegis the hit for the whole group. Or double tap it to do the big CC. So I didn't like burning the 5 for no reason. If the thing that I was just told about the Staff is true, sorry for, I'm being corrected. It's my first day on Luminary. So then I guess it'd be, use 2 and the 4 in some order first, and then the 3, and then you could double tap the 3. The second click of the 3 makes it do a big heal and condition cleanse. But remember, the first click on any of these gives your party Alacrity, so you need to be using some of them. And that's the gist of it. In the Spear, the 4 is a condition cleanse, use it when you need it. The 2 is a movement skill, use it when you need it. The staff, the 2 is a spammable heal, use it when you need it. The 5 is a small CC, but if you happen to have staff in hand and you need a CC, you could do that. The F3 is Aegis to the whole group, use it when you need it. And if you have this trait, it's also stability and a stun break to the whole group. I've memed about it before, but if you have that trait, this is right there. That one tooltip is more utility than the entire Weaver class. And it's still true. So that is how that works. And then emergency buttons, resolute stance, massive heal on the party and condition cleanse, signet of courage if you're using it, but you don't have to bring signet of courage, you can bring other things. Feel my wrath is super speed and boons that, again, if you're in the open world, using this, you'll give yourself some quickness for a little while. Even though you're an alacrity provider, you'll get some quickness from this. If you're with a group where someone else is in charge of quickness, you're basically just getting the super speed from this. Daring Advance as some utility, you can basically it's a movement skill, and then it cages enemies so they can't leave for a minute. So that can be useful in some encounters if you need something to hold still. But I was using Signet of Courage all day today while I was learning. I think that about covers it. So yeah, again, tons of utility down here. Change based on what you need. If you need, especially if you're not running this trait, my stability basically came from Stand Your Ground. If you need more stability, you could run Stand Your Ground and also Valorous Stance. If you need projectile block, you got 3 options. There's Sanctuary, which is longer cooldown, but it's projectile block, and it's also healing, and it's also a ton of CC. Shield of the Avenger, which is just 3 charges of projectile block, so lots of it, more than you could ever need. Wall of Reflection is projectile reflect. This sends it back at the enemy. So, if you need that for certain encounters. Then you got Signet of Mercy to revive teammates. You've got Advance, which has 2 charges of Aegis. So you got, those 2, plus also your F3, plus also your Radiant Bulwark and the shield. Yeah, there's a lot here. Let's see, what else? Am I in? Oh, I see them. It's because I was in the Forge. Another thing worth mentioning is whenever you use your virtues, it buffs the associated weapon skill in the Forge. So Radiant Justice says the next time you use Hammer, it will make a delayed secondary explosion. So if I use Justice and I go into Forge and I do the Hammer, boom, there's the delayed explosion, right? We did some testing with this, and from what I could tell, like that, the next time you bleh, it lasts minutes. So it's almost like, again, I'm using the F1 and F2 off cooldown, which buffs the Hammer and the Staff. So the next time I use Hammer, secondary shockwave, and the next time I use staff, it does a big heal on allies and grants them regeneration. So those 2 skills were almost always empowered every time I used them without any thought put into it, because there was like almost endless duration on it's like an invisible buff, because like when I click it, I don't get a buff that says the next hammer is juicy or the next staff is thick, whatever. Don't clip that. It just happens. Even if it's really far in the future, it just happens. And you don't have to think about it. There's one for Radiant Courage as well. But again, Courage you're kind of saving for when you need it. But if you hit Courage and then you use the Radiant Shield, it does a barrier on the team, which, that's nice. You also have a barrier on a Fulgent Stance. So like, for example, when we did Bone Skinner today, Bone Skinner is just a lot of damage in a room and some projectiles. So I was like, okay, I don't really need more. I don't need stability. I don't need more Aegis. So I brought a Fulgent Stance to have more barrier on the party. And I believe I brought Shield of the Avenger to have another way of putting up a barrier to block the incoming bullets. So, all right, so that's how to play it. Different things to say about the Luminary. I've got some little notes over here on my other monitor. One, that unique buff is really freaking cool. Just, if you have a heal Luminary, if you got a Ritualist playing to perfection, and a Luminary playing to perfection, and a Paragon playing to perfection, you're going to take less damage with the Luminary because of this. That's neat. I hope that they don't take that away. That's a neat little thing. It's not overpowered, but it's something unique to them, and I like that. Ease of play. I would say if you just compare all healers on a spectrum of how challenging they are to play, I would say this is in the top half of that spectrum. Paragon, for example, was much easier than this to play. I was able to pick up on this pretty quick thanks to the excellent guide that Snowcrows wrote, but like Paragon and Mechanist and Heelbender are much easier than this to pick up. This took some time to get used to. There's a lot of buttons that each do different things. There's a lot of tools here. And then like stopping before each fight and thinking, okay, all right, I need projectile block for Dagda, so I'm gonna change this one. And hold on guys, don't pull yet. Let's see, Dagda, I don't need stability on the Dagda. I don't really need Aegis. I guess I'll bring a Fulgent Stance for more. And I had to think before each fight, like, okay, what skills am I bringing for this one? But so ease of play, I would say this isn't like the hardest class in the game, but among the healers, it's in the top half of the of them for complexity. Flexibility, very high flexibility. You have, again, these 3 slots, whatever you want. And you can change them before every single boss fight. So, very cool. Vigor. Vigor is the only boon that we're not pumping out constantly. Every other boon that we care about, we're just putting out constantly. You do give yourself some vigor when you dodge, but this isn't party-wide. Now, I was told by one person that if you bring a longbow as one of your weapons, you can do vigor on the party constantly with longbow 4. However, the longbow, I really wasn't comfortable putting away the staff or the spear because they were helping with a lot of other boons. So I was like, all right, just, people, they're getting baby vigor from the virtue. That's good enough for them. Like, vigor is, although it is a useful boon, if you compare all the boons, I would say it's one of the lesser ones in importance. So it's like, okay, well, they can just deal with that. So know that. You have some of the highest access to Aegis and stability among all the supports in the game with this. I think Firebrand might have the highest, maybe Chrono after that. This is really far up there though, because you could have stability on your F3, you could have stability on Stand Your Ground, you could have stability on Valorous Stance, which would be 3 buttons that give stability. You could take Advance for 2 charges of Aegis, your F3 gives Aegis, your Forge 5 gives Aegis. So depending on, like, you're always gonna have some, and depending on what you bring, you could have a lot more. Oh yeah, the Elite does stability also, thank you. So there's a lot of that. One more thing to mention is the damage redirect. Now, I didn't really mind this because it cuts off if it gets bad, but let me show you something. If you go into the Forge and look at the staff, so, and then right here. So you hit it the second time, heal and remove conditions from nearby allies, then redirect a percentage of their incoming strike damage to you. Now, a long time ago, there was a version of Engineer's Bulwark Gyro that existed when I was maining Scrapper for about a year. And when you used it, it provided barrier to the team, which it still does today, but it also redirected a 33% of damage they took to you. And on Bone Skinner, whenever I hit that button, I would almost die instantly. And if anyone near me stood in a puddle, it would kill them and me, even though I wasn't in the puddle, because they were redirecting damage to me. Now, fortunately, they have learned from those dark days of the past, and it will also read damage reduction will end if you fall below 50% health, which means I think I can safely say that you can use this and you don't have to worry about it. That means if your health is safe, you're peeling damage from your allies and taking it yourself. And if your health gets critical, it stops doing that. And I think that's a perfect implementation because, like I said, I remember dying because Billy stood in a puddle and then my head would explode. And then Billy would have the audacity to be like, yo, our healer died. And I'm like, deep breaths. So I'm glad that they added a limit to it. So you keep yourself above half and your party's taking less damage, but if you go below half, it stops drawing damage from them, and they're on their own until you fix that. So really, really cool stuff here. I'm genuinely shocked by how much fun I had. This is the last Visions of Eternity support that I wanted to cover. After this, I'm going to be doing boon DPS stuff, like, quickness gale shot and things like that. But this is the last healer that I wanted to cover. So going through them, like, Troubadour was fine. It felt exactly like playing Chrono, though. I fill the pink bubbles and then I shatter the pink bubbles. It felt exactly the same to me. So I'm not going to main Troubadour. And honestly, some of my favorite Chrono support skills are, like, they're wells. Like the Well of Precognition on Chrono. Oh my god, that makes my brain make the happy juice. Troubadour doesn't have that. So Troubadour was fine. It was effective. It's good if you like it. But to me, it felt just like playing the other Mesmer specs. You fill pink bubbles, then you spin them. Paragon, very easy to pick up. Stupidly powerful. The only downside I could think of for Paragon is it does like 500 DPS. So, by the way, this build has used like 18. I was doing like 2k DPS with this build. So, more than Paragon, less than many other supports, but, a little bit of damage. So Paragon was like no damage and is very noisy. I hope they fix that. But the healing output and the survivability of it were top notch. So that was really, really good. Ritualist was really solid. It has some really cool, unique stuff. It also does way too much damage for a healer right now. I kind of expect that they're going to nerf that. We'll see. Like, Mighty Teapot discovered that Zealots build of Ritualist that could do the same amount of healing I was doing on this Luminary, but also 17k DPS, which is bonkers. Amalgam, I can't really recommend heal Amalgam. It kind of just, like, it's fine. It does the job, but if you compare it to, like, the Scrapper or the Mechanist, it's like, why would you play this? For me personally, So it just felt like it was just like missing some, like it was good because it had med kit, it had elixir gun, it had mortar gun, it had, or mortar kit, it had all the stuff that core engineer has, which make it a good healer, but it, like, you don't even hit evolve. Like it wasn't really bringing anything on its own to the table. Who else was there? Water Evoker was pretty solid. Water Evoker is pretty good, but I felt like I was getting carpal tunnel playing it. That will be lessened somewhat when they add an autocast to the otter button, but right now it's not there, so it's very, very high APM to do what the Paragon could do with 1/3 of the APM, and Paragon has like double the health, double the armor. So it was fine. If you like playing it, it's cool. This one was, I would say for me, Ritualist and this were the most fun, followed closely behind by Paragon. And this has the most utility of any of them, it felt like to me. Rit did the most damage of all the new supports while healing, and also had some unique powers like Zenrei's weapon and Weapon of Warding and stuff like that. And also, you know, it's a Necro, so it can do like Boon Rip and things like that. But this just had like lots of boons, possibly the most access to stability or Aegis of any of the new supports, and that's because Guardian. And then also lots of healing, and it was just really fun. It felt like I had an answer for everything, as long as I remembered all my buttons, and I, you know, sometimes prepared before the fight by swapping a skill out. So, yeah, I guess if I had to say something negative about it, it doesn't really have anything in the base kit for reviving a downstate DPS that went down. Now, you could bring Signum to Mercy, but for the most part, like, for example, if you're blood... If you're a heal ritualist, you've always got last rites, which makes it so people around you do not bleed out. That's very powerful. Like, even if you did not take the Revive Well of Blood or Signet of Undeath, even if you didn't take those things, you've always got last rites, which is incredibly powerful for making the party bounce back. There's nothing in the base kit for this that helps with revives unless you specifically bring something which takes up a slot. But again, very high flexibility depending on what you want to bring. Do you trust your group? Yes. If no, bring Signet of Mercy. I think that's it. I think that's everything I have to say about this. This is really fun. I could see myself playing more of this in the future. I don't know about like open world, you know, where I need to be able to do some damage. I don't have a Guardian build that I really enjoy playing when I'm just on my own, you know, hitting things. But supporting a group, this was quite fun. This was enjoyable. And I think that's it. All right, so that was my day on Luminary. If you've got any questions, problems, thoughts, concerns, or comments about anything I missed or any corrections you want to make, I welcome it. I played it for a day. Put it in the comment section down below, and we will chat down there.